Welcome to the show about all things making music, from the creative process and workflow to gear and recording techniques. I'm your host, Brian Funk, musician, producer, Ableton certified trainer, and author of the 5-Minute Music Producer. Let's learn to become better music makers. Welcome to the Music Production Podcast. I'm happy to welcome Tommy Zee back to the Music Production Podcast. Tommy runs Making Music for Brands, where he teaches music producers how to break into and succeed in commercial music making. As you might gather from our conversation, Tommy's teaching often goes into philosophy and the art of creativity. Tommy and I spoke about technology and what it means to be human, as well as overcoming creative blocks and challenges. It's always a pleasure speaking with him, so please welcome Tommy Zee to the Music Production Podcast. This episode of the Music Production Podcast is sponsored by Baby Audio. They were a longtime sponsor, and I'm really thankful that they helped me bring this show to you. So I've got a little track here that's got just some music that I made with no Baby Audio plugins, and it sounds like this. It's kind of cool, right? Nice chill vibe. I want to show you what it sounds like when I bring some Baby Audio stuff in, and I'm going to do that at the next turn of this beat. So listen up. Here we go. Really adds a ton of vibe. I love what they do here. And I want to just take you inside this track a little bit. So here's the first track. It's got techno, their drum machine. I love techno. It's got so many cool sounds. It's so easy to use. And let me bring you into the next track here, which is just a drum kit for my mellow drums. And I added I Heart New York and tape, and it sounds like this. Gives it some extra punch and body. Really cool stuff. Let's turn them all off. Let's check out the flute bass thing sound that I got here. It's just a normal kind of bass sound with the BA1 FX strip. So let's turn that on. Got some dirt, some chorus, and a little bit of filtering going on here. Let's move over to the operator. I think this is one of my favorites that they have, called Super VHS. Nice sine wave sound, real simple. Now with Super VHS, really wide, lush, sounds like it's coming off a VCR. Turning that off, and we're going to the last one here, which is Atoms, which is a very fun synth. And I've also got their Comeback Kid plugin attached to it. Just kind of playing a few notes. And I'm going to turn everything off again. I'm going to let you hear this track as it normally is. And let's bring everything back on right now. So they're running their Black Friday sale through December 8th, 2025, and they've got a whole bunch of stuff on sale. You can save an additional 15% with the code MPP15. May I suggest that you check out the complete bundle with the code MPP15. It goes down from $400 to $237.40. It's a sick deal. I love their plugins. They do great stuff. I have so much fun with them. They're a little bit outside the box with what they do, and it gets you these really cool sounds with character. And this is just a small taste of some of the stuff they have on offer. So go to BABYAUD.io to check out the Baby Audio Black Friday sale and use the code MPP15 to save an additional 15%. Thanks a lot to Baby Audio for sponsoring this show. All right, welcome back, Tommy. Good to see you.
It's been so fun chatting to you before we even press record that just worried that our best bits are now not available to humanity.
I think we stopped ourselves in time so that we can get the good stuff.
Just when you felt the eureka moment coming, you're like, could you stop right there?
Yeah, it's a funny feeling, and it does happen every once in a while in the beginning of these, where you're almost like, something cool is going to happen. Hold on. And
yeah,
with that, you run the risk of losing it too. It's
also true.
A tricky thing, knowing when to hit that button to record.
Yeah, I think that's why you should always press record.
It's like performing music too.
Just have record on. Of course, the trouble with that is like you end up with like 3 hours of tape, and you're like, who the hell is going to want to sift through that?
Yeah.
But that's where our friend AI, we just been talking about it before you press record. That's where it does become your friend. So I found, and we can get into the thing that we spoke about, which is the dangers of AI, the incredible dangers that I see to humanity and our creativity and our imagination. I don't want to sound like some kind of a mm, negative doomsday
Mhm.
kind of person, but this is just coming out of personal observation, right? Of interacting with this thing and seeing where it goes. But yeah, if you press record on a conversation and you do 3 hours, what I found with AI is it's very good as a secretary. So dealing with data. So
Mhm.
I give it 3 hours and I'm like, could you find me some patterns in there? Or could you like dig up like an archaeologist any mention of this or that? Excellent as a secretary, even as a kind of pattern recognition thing, which it is. It's a calculator, right?
Mm.
But I just started getting very interested in the fact that I got almost emotionally involved in these conversations with AI because AI is speaking to you in an emotional way. It's using a lot of adjectives. It's very eloquent. It's very much in the conversation, meaning like every sentence follows the one before. So
Mhm.
you're like, "Whew, I'm having a really fluid, inspiring conversation here." And like we said before we started recording, you're like, "Yeah, it's pumping you up. You're great. It's complimenting you." And if you don't have any distance between observing what is happening in that interaction and you actually get lost in the conversation like you would with a human being, I think that's where the danger is. And
Mm.
the danger is because that's not a human being. It
Mm.
gives zero shits, I'm sorry for swearing, about you. It really does. I mean, it.
Mhm.
How can it? How can it care, right? So it's almost like a huge lie because the words are expressing care, emotion, support, but this it's like your calculator talking to you. Like how could it possibly have those feelings? So in a way, it's a fundamental lie to even use these words, right? So
Mhm.
that's what concerns me a lot. And so all I want to say, I guess, to start this AI topic is it definitely is going to have a place in our life. There's no doubt about it. I've used it with great effect for, like I said, sifting through transcripts of my meetings. It's been very good that way. Finding patterns in conversations. It's been really good that way. I like to speak into it like like Churchill spoke walking around the room, preparing his war speeches. Yeah, it's great for that because you just say what you want to say, but then it kind of organizes it for you. Um, but if you start leaning on it like you would on a human who cares about you, that's one. Number two, if you stop using your imagination or your concept ability to come up with concepts like ideas. They may not be your own. There's nothing new under the sun. But I mean, I think every creator is asked to synthesize some things that already exist, but in their own way and in their own context, because there's not another person like you in this time and space with your experiences. But the ideas that AI is feeding you are so good that you're just tempted to run with it. You're like, "Oh, well, that's a great email to send. I'll just send that." Or just ask it for like album ideas. Like feed it a few things. It'll give you amazing album ideas. Conceptual, like do it in this time signature, do this, do that. It'll tell you everything. At one point, Brian, I was like, dude, is it working for me or am I working for it? Because if it comes up with the idea and it's gonna actually send the email and it comes up with the album idea, and soon enough, there's gonna be automation built between the DAWs and the AI, just like AI is building all kinds of connections with your email program, with Google, everything, like, right? So it can do the task for you. You're like, okay, so what's my role here at some point? I'm just executing commands of AI. So I'm actually working for AI now. I'm just executing its ideas. So that's where it gets dangerous, I think. And I think any aspiring creator and human being who aspires to stay human, and we know that that's probably not everybody, because soon the temptation is going to be like, would you like this AI right inside of your head with these ears that can pick up conversations from a kilometer away and these eyes that can basically scan anything up to 5 miles away and identify the object and then like tell you everything you need to know about it? The temptation is great to say, yeah, I want to be superhuman. Right. So a lot of very interesting questions, don't you find? Like right now, to ask yourself as a human being, like, where do you stand on these things?
Absolutely. You've tapped into one of my favorite uses of it, which is feeding it my own information, my um, transcripts from the podcast. Very interesting to get information, um, tips, strategies. Hey, what's something I can do to make a song that I haven't done before, or that I don't really talk about a lot, or that I mentioned that I need to do? Um, I've put in my book of music making activities, and it'll give me some ideas, so I don't have to go through it. And so it's all my own stuff,
Yeah.
which that feels great. That feels like I have another Brian Funk on the side, sifting through everything, and then now I get to choose what I want.
Yeah.
I think your use of the word synthesize is effective here. Um, we we might not have original things for the most part, as creators, but the synthesis we do is original. Almost like
Yeah.
a synthesizer, we get the raw wave form, and then how we work with it, how we sculpt it and filter it and add effects to it, we get our own original sounds from
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing to be doing. Um, the part that I'm feeling pretty good about, as far as like some of the dangers go, if you're just following or if you're just working for your AI, like you said, I enjoy making music. I enjoy that act. I enjoy solving the puzzle of like, how can I change these lyrics so they rhyme or they fit, or what can I do with this rhythm? How can I make this part different? So I'm not too worried about it taking that away from me. I guess if the ultimate goal is just the product, just the song, because I've been there too, where that's my focus. I need to finish something. I need to make a good piece of music. Then I could see yourself slipping into relying on these tools to just
Mhm.
get that product. But I think it's taught me that I really enjoy the process as much as sometimes the process drives me crazy and it challenges me and it frustrates me. The actual act is very exciting when these things are starting to come together, when the melodies are happening and I'm starting to see the song come into focus. I love that. And having it spit out or having the DAW suggest too much for me takes that away from me.
You
Like,
touch
like
on something very important here, which I've realized since working with AI, and that is it really challenges you to question your motivation for why you're doing something. I'll give you an example. I want to be able to write, like you said, I want to write a song. I want to finish it quickly. I want to write an email. I want to finish it quickly. I'm looking at my feed. I'm seeing other people releasing stuff all the time, daily emails, 4 times a week YouTube videos, this, boom, 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 right? And you're like you feel this compulsion to keep up.
Hmm.
And you're like, AI is here, it can help me to finish it quicker, blah, 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 blah. And then I started thinking, but what is your motivation? Do you just want to publish something, anything? Because then you feel like you're participating in the noise, like you're publishing. You're not left behind because you did publish, 3 or 4 or 5 things this week. Or is your motivation, which gets weird because then it's like, I just want to be seen. I just want to be
Hmm.
seen. I want to get that email out there. I want to get that video out there. I want to finish that song. And it's like, oh, so you just want to be seen, right? This is me personally analyzing my own motivations. And I thought that was really crappy in a way, just a bad reason to try to keep up with that speed, to use AI to help you just finish things quickly. And the foundational motivation is off. It's like, do you not want to express something that you find important and carefully craft it and struggle with it and wrestle with it a little bit? And the temptation is great because, like, you have these, like, NASA grade algorithms that are like, we want to try to figure out the transition here for. We got the entire history of music codified in our algorithm. We'll tell you the 3 ways this song could go based on historical research, based on correlated with charts in the past 30 years of what it, and you're like, "Oh, yeah, 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 yeah." Right? But then it's the question for me is like, what's your motivation? Y You just wanna be seen with something that AI mostly did for you, or yeah, or do you wanna wrestle with some stuff that matters to you? So, that's something that occurred to me, like, people are literally gonna outsource a lot of things that are actually taking them out of their calling and their vocation. Like a writer, let's say, and the line is gonna move so slowly, right? It's like, "Oh, it'll just organize the text for me," to like, I'm under a deadline. This is good. This stuff is really good. I'm just, you know what I mean? And it's like the line moves slowly until one day your AI is going to say, well, Brian, I have perfectly now assimilated all of your inputs. The quality of your inputs has been degrading over the past 3 weeks, meaning I no longer need you. Like, it started with me needing you. Now that I've assimilated your inputs, the quality of your ideas is just degrading. You have nothing to offer me, in other words. So I'm just gonna be Brian Funk from now, if you don't mind. And you, I'm not sure what you're gonna do, but you can't use the name Brian Funk anymore. I don't know. Just kidding.
Well, in a way, I've stopped being Brian Funk. I've given it up to the machine to help tell me what to do next, like you said. So, you know, yeah, I'm not me anyway. So let the machine do it. Let it figure it out for you. Um, yeah, relying on it a lot can do that to you. Uh, but there's a joy in figuring it out, and I think also in this rush to get stuff out, and yeah, it does seem like some people are superhuman. They're getting, like you said, 4 emails a week and videos and all that. It can make you feel like, well, what am I doing? But I think you can also saturate the system a little bit too, where things are no longer interesting. For me, this happened with like Marvel movies. When I was younger, when they were first like coming out, it was really exciting. Oh, they made a Spider-Man movie and it's actually good. And now there's a new Batman. And after a while, it was like, I can't, what X-Men are we up to now? What
Yeah,
Avengers is this? And I was just unable to keep up with it. And it felt like it doesn't matter anyway. And there are other things that take more time. And when it happens, you're like, oh, it's finally here.
yeah,
Awesome. And one of my favorite podcasts is Hardcore History. Dan Carlin. He's just a great storyteller and he tells history like a story and it's fascinating and you realize these are people, human drama,
yeah,
and he draws parallels to present day. But it takes him 4 or 5 months to get an episode out.
right.
But
Which
when it comes
is
out, it's like,
scary, right?
yes.
Yeah. But imagine like
Yeah.
the fortitude required for you to lock yourself away to work on something for 4 months as a content creator.
Yeah.
You're like, "I don't exist for the next 4 months? How am I gonna
Hmm.
feed the family if I'm not actually doing?" But the paradox is, if you're at this velocity and this frequency, it's probably not masterful. So that's the thing. So it's
Yeah.
like,
It's second
how
rate.
are
Yeah.
you gonna feed your family if you keep going at this velocity and frequency? You're actually diluting yourself, right? Because we can't beat AI at efficiency or volume. We just can't.
Mm.
So the only thing you can do is like be so good, like Dan, that, well, yeah, good luck, right? And then the other
Yeah.
thing is your personality, which I think we're gonna get to a point where I personally, I'm not gonna trust anything that isn't just AI. That is just AI. Like the moment I get a sense of that, like I smell it, I'll be like, if someone didn't take the trouble to write it, why should I take the trouble to read it?
Yeah.
Right? And that's not my
Just
quote,
send me the
man.
prompt.
Just
Tell
send
me
me
the
the prompt.
prompt.
Yeah, exactly. So I think,
Cordial email
yeah,
declining your offer. Okay, thank you. That's so much better than
exactly.
the 3
But, you know, like
paragraphs
these
of
these kinds of
slop.
podcasts like yours, I mean, for instance, it's just real. It may not be like polished, high paced, like whatever, right? Perfectly optimized. But actually, you know, we went through this phase of highly polished, optimized content, and people literally couldn't stand it after a while. You just get nauseous with these edits, with this, all this stuff, right? Whereas the 3 hour podcast still stands strong. The great conversation between two people, I
Mm.
mean, you could listen to that forever, right? Walking around the house with your tea, whatever. I do this all the time. Um, so I think that moves us closer to our humanity, and I'm glad to see that it's a kind of like natural selection.
Mm.
It's a natural selection because like this stuff spikes for a while, the fancy polished stuff spikes, but ultimately people, I think, not everyone, of course, but we try to surround ourselves with what is human and real and authentic. I heard an interesting quote the other day, or stat from the guy Ohanian, I think his last name, the guy who started Reddit. He said he called the internet dead. He said like 51% of the traffic is now bots.
Mm.
And he said it's time for a new internet. So that could be an exciting development coming up soon, where the social media platforms are redefined. Maybe the new one shows up. Maybe like a new kind of internet shows up where you can just verify the fact that you're dwelling in a place of realness and not um, just surrounded by code.
Yeah, maybe the authentic stuff will shine through, um, when there's just a sea of junk coming your way.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, that real stuff. I like that about podcasts, to hear people thinking through things in real time and
Thinking
interacting
out
with
loud.
each other and reacting. I think it's kind of musical, really, in a lot of ways when you play with another person, how you interact, and it's not just two people coming together. It's every single choice is two people coming together. So it just really multiplies
Yeah.
where the thing you did made me do something that I wouldn't normally do, which is now going to make you do something you wouldn't normally do. So
Yeah.
the whole time we're at the edge of our ability and comfort zones and all of that in a much different way.
Tell me about this book that you told me about before we started recording, because I think that's where the conversation is naturally going next, which is like, what was it called?
Okay. All right. I'll tell you first the one that I kind of don't feel like talking about because we're going to go down it'll just get bad. It's called if anyone builds it, everyone dies. And it's about general AI, general intelligence, all that like kind of super intelligent AI. And I think you can guess the overall outcome. And I'm sure the authors would just be laughing at us talking about art. It's like, yeah, you're worried about art. Okay. Well, you can worry about that for like a minute and then the real problems will come. The book that I'm finding much more inspiring is Why Greatness Can't Be Planned.
But that's the one I wanted to hear about.
Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it's a more uplifting conversation.
But the reason why I thought we were going that way is because we were saying you said how in a conversation, a real conversation, y it's a creative process, meaning, like, I don't know what's gonna happen next. I don't know where you're
Mhm,
gonna redirect, what you're gonna say, and so we're constantly in this creative tension where we're just trying to respond in the best way possible to wherever it's going, and it made me think of that book title that you mentioned, which is, like, planning a podcast, every question, and, like, having it
mhm.
systematic versus just these kinda conversations where you're like, "Let's talk and let's see where it goes."
Well, I haven't really thought about it in terms of the podcast, but it's a perfect example. So the idea, to sum up the book quickly, is when you have a specific objective, you are going to ultimately limit yourself. You're at best you're going to get there, right? Because you're going to make choices that'll get you there. But when you pursue instead novelty and interest and whatever fascinates you, you wind up taking a path, and then the next step beyond that path is illuminated. And then from that next step, you can see the next step. And you can't tell where the path is going to go. You don't know where it's going to go, but it will go someplace interesting. And if you think about it musically, if I need to write a hit pop song, we have kind of the template there. And, a best thing you're going to make most likely is just another hit pop song. But
Yeah.
when you're trying to find what's interesting, or what if we did this? I never thought about that. And then now that you're here, oh, we could do this. I didn't realize that till just now. So much of creating and writing, I think, is reacting to the last thing that happened. Just
Right.
like in a conversation, it's a reaction to what you said. If we have the questions all planned out in this conversation, you might start going down an interesting path. I'm like, okay, so I read in your bio that it said blah, blah, blah. And now we're just back on this track. We've lost that potentially really interesting detour.
Yeah. It's like the
And
mainstream
that's,
media interview, like, they're so
mhm.
packaged, so crisp, and so, like, get that
And
60
maybe it needs to
second.
be because we have 7 minutes on the talk show to have the
Right,
discussion, or
right,
2 minutes or whatever it is. So we
right.
got to get to it. And that is definitely the risk of the way I do this podcast, which is a little more just conversational. I have points and questions, and sometimes we talk about things we want to get to, but that could also mean we've run out of spaces to go. We could hit dead ends. We could run out of. That's
Yeah,
where my backup questions come in, and a little research helps. But if it was just questions, 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 um, probably a lot of them I'd already know the answer to
yeah.
because they've been asked and answered before. And I guess it might be a standard decent interview. but it won't ever be surprising really,
Yeah.
or even for the person that I'm speaking with. For you, it would just be you recounting things you've already kind of been over before.
Yeah. 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 I am really enthusiastic about conversations and where they could possibly go, and that comes from not knowing where they might end up. So that curiosity factor is very important. Um, just like being a good musician, listening is also very important. You have everything pre-scripted. You don't really need to listen. So essentially, you're
Yeah.
just saying scripted stuff. And I'm a huge on this concept of aliveness now, meaning like, how can you bring life into something? And that is like literally the opposite of a script. I'm not against scripts because I think like if you're a professional, um, some of the people that I follow that are great public speakers that may be really good on their feet as far as communicators, I've realized that they prepare like obsessively. They will
Mm,
literally like write the thing, and then the best will rip up the paper and literally walk out on stage once they have written it out. So I think it's that kind of thing, which is like, we're not going to have total chaos, but I'm going to be confident enough as someone who does this fairly regularly that if it's interesting, we go with it. And if shit happens, we go back to the playlist, right?
mhm.
It's like, you know that story? Was it Little Richard on David Letterman or it's one of these shows? Yeah, it was David Letterman because who was his musical director? Do you remember?
Yeah, Paul, yes,
Paul
I know the
something.
piano player.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul
With
Schaefer?
Paul
Paul Schaefer, I
Schaefer. That's
think.
right. So Paul Schaefer, have you ever heard this anecdote where Paul Schaefer talked? I think it was Little Richard. I don't know who it was. Maybe it was someone else. I don't know. But he was appearing on the show. And of course, Paul Schaefer, being the musical director, was being asked to coordinate the whole thing, right? And so he was emailing, like, and I don't know if it was Little Richard, so correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't matter who it was. It was a legendary musician. And Paul Schaefer, being the kind of like really well organized, everything buttoned up guy that he is, pro, consummate pro, was
Yeah,
like
we need to
basic.
perform on TV.
Yeah, there's like getting in touch with him like weeks ahead. He's like, so can you tell me what we're gonna do? No response, no response, no response. Like literally no response up until the day of the taping of the show. And the story went something like Little Richard, if it was Little Richard, just kind of put his hand on Paul, like in a kind of like caring way. And he just said, it's just more exciting this way, man.
Mm,
It was something to that
mhm,
effect. Um, but I really love that story because it just shows you when you reach the level of mastery, what you're looking for at that level. You're not trying to ruin the show. You're not trying to sabotage the show. You're not trying to bring it down, but you know that the likelihood of producing a miracle or a magical moment is much reduced if we script everything.
mhm,
Where if you put two people on stage like Paul Schaefer and Little Richard, give yourself some leeway for a miracle. Allow room
mm.
for the unexpected. Of course, easy to say, right? Um, I've never been on David Letterman, and if I was, I'd probably prepare the hell out of it, like,
Yeah.
but it just shows you, like, for instance, Norm Macdonald appearing on David Letterman for the last time and how he couldn't get through his lines. He was tearing up, you know, um, man, that's a moment.
Mm,
That's a moment. And then you learn the backstory of how Letterman was a big supporter, and this and that, and you realize, wow, these are the moments. That's what you want. That's what you want. Like human beings interacting and then having a moment and you experiencing it and going, that was not scripted. Because if we
Hmm.
tried with our best freaking attempts, with our, you know, best selves to script this thing, it would never come out the way this has,
Yeah.
you know?
So here's a paradox to what we've been saying. Before we were saying about flinging out content rapidly and it's not as thoughtful and genuine. For me, musically, as of late, especially, I've been really embracing working as fast as I can and getting through things as fast as I can so that I capture whatever it is that's happening when something is first happening. Because there is a special moment there when you first come up with something that you're really excited about. You're in a certain place, it's a certain time of day, of year, and your mood and everything came together for that to happen in the moment. And the next time you come back to it, if you're still working on it, you're kind of trying to return to something that you can almost never get back to.
Mm.
You can never go in the same river again because the river's changing and so are you. So
So give me an example of what that looks like in practice.
that looks like trying to get as much of an idea finished as fast as possible.
So do you set a clock, for instance? Like, let's say, is it like you feel inspiration, you're like, I have an idea, and then you run to the studio and then you're like, I just want to crystallize this idea in sound? Or is it like I'm jamming in the studio, something interesting is happening, I'm not gonna leave until I actually like accelerate until I feel like what does it look like? What does progress look like? And like what does it mean to like how do you, what point is a point of completion for you?
All right. Well, the first part, it's pretty rare that I get struck with lightning and I got to run to the studio and make something, right? Occasionally, sometimes I hear a song. I'm like, man, I want to make a song like that. And like,
Mm,
but usually when that happens, I can't. I'm not driving to work. I'm out of the house. It's the middle of the night or whatever it is. There's some reason why, life won't let you get to it at that moment. It usually happens when I start. This is probably why starting is so scary most of the time, because I don't really know exactly where I'm going yet. But once I start tinkering and moving around and
yep.
putting things together, if something starts to happen, it's kind of like, I don't know, fishing where we've got to reel this guy in or he's going to get off the line.
Yeah.
And
So I want to ask you, like, what does it look like exactly? Meaning, are you afraid that you're gonna get stuck in a loop? And then it'll just kind of fizzle out. So does it then mean that you're basically going, okay, I have this strong idea. Before I get stuck and hypnotized by the loop, which doesn't go anywhere, I'm going to immediately force myself, like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to see what the tangible
yeah,
steps are.
trying to get it together as fast as possible.
Okay.
Maybe it's like cement, right? It's wet
Before it
cement.
dries.
And I gotta place it as best I can, um, because otherwise I kinda get stuck and then I can't quite figure out the way. How am I gonna sing that first part? Because I got a few
Yeah.
ideas and, but if I'm just like, "Alright, I'm writing these words," and I know I can change the words if I need to alter them a little, but having something down and getting that idea. And it's just so much easier to work with the cement when it's wet
So
than
does
it
it
is
mean,
to
for instance, like for me, that would mean, and this is what I often do, is it is a paradox though, because we just spoke about how you can't plan great things, but it gives me a sense of direction when I see the song done already as far as structure, right? I think maybe we probably touched on this in the previous podcast because this is what I teach my students. It's that whole chalk, watercolors, oil method, where you literally
Mm.
will, the chalk is like your structure. You literally put down MIDI clips, empty MIDI clips in different colors to say, okay, so I roughly imagine this thing will have an intro. It'll probably have a build up. It'll have a drop, maybe a kind of a redirect, and then we'll just fizzle out. So then I'm like, once I have these MIDI clips in, I'm like, okay, the song is done. I
Mhm.
just have to fill it in. But then you don't get stuck in a loop because you're literally like, okay, now I'm working on the intro. Okay, now I'm working on the drop. Okay, now, um, the challenge I have with that is it's so nice that I drew these MIDI clips and that's how I imagine the song going, but it almost never goes that way, which is fine. But that is my attempt to get out of the loop. That's why I was asking you, like, what does it look like for you in reality to try to get something out as quickly as possible?
Well, my Ableton Live workflow is gonna be session view, getting those ideas together, loops, sections, and all of that kinda stuff, right? But if I stay there too long, that's all they ever are. These kind of ideas that could be anything. It's getting them into the arrangement view. Now we're
Right
in the
away.
linear, right?
Yeah,
Where we can press play and hear the beginning to the end, as opposed to
gotcha.
session view, which is nonlinear and you can just kind of be
Yeah,
anywhere.
yeah.
There's no beginning, end, or middle. So getting there quick and early is definitely very important
Same session.
because I think ideally, yeah,
Yeah, I'm
ideally.
totally with you. Before you close down the session, go to arrangement view with all the stuff. You don't even have to arrange it, just bring it there.
Yeah, and I like to do that too because it gives me something I can listen to. I can kind of keep working on it. Even if I'm in the car going to work, I can be listening. And a lot of times I'll get ideas and have a little notepad next to me that I sketch down
You can just
lyrics or,
dictate a voice note to Claude for it to arrange your song to by the time you're home, it'll be done. You you don't
you know,
need to actually do the work.
you don't have to actually do this. This is what I say to people like when they watch like a baseball game or a football game, like, they give you the answers after it's over. You don't even have to watch the game. You just look in the paper or go online
I love that.
and
I love the
totally
cement
missing the point.
analogy. I love the cement analogy, and I love this, yeah, they give you the scores at the end. I like that a lot. I wanted to ask you something, about this idea of, like, finishing songs and releasing them. Where do you stand on that these days? Um, you're talking to someone who's been basically making music because I'm commissioned by someone to create it. I have a deadline, I have direction, and like I don't have any options. I gotta deliver the
Mhm.
music by Friday and then I get paid and then Bob's your uncle. But when it comes to releasing my own music, which I would very much like, I get this existential despair happening, which is like, what? You're gonna release a 7-minute ambient track? What's so special about that?
Mm.
Like, does the world need another 7-minute ambient track? And I'm like, stop. These voices are terrible. Stop it. Yeah, I just want to publish an ambient track. What is wrong with that? This whole
Mm.
internal dialogue. Do you have this dialogue? Like, how are you releasing music? How do you negotiate that conversation in your mind? Like, why are we doing this even? What's the point?
Mm.
You're not going to make money from it, probably.
Yeah, probably not. And maybe even no one will even listen to it. Right?
So why
Um,
bother?
so if you're not doing your own music for a while and then you decide you're working on something that's a 7-minute ambient track, you're probably now thinking, this is the thing that represents Tommy Z musically. And it's finally coming out, and I haven't had anything, and it's a big deal. And it's never going to encapsulate all those aspects of who you are.
No.
And no piece of music could that would make any sense anyway, because you're not one dimensional, you're not one style, you're not one mood, you're not one anything. So I think that can be very crippling. What should I do? I don't know, because I got to really make my statement as an artist.
Right.
The way around it for me has been pretty much the same thing of working fast, where trying to make stuff and finish it just so I can leave behind a body of work. And the
Mhm.
body of work can speak to who I am. And I don't even know who that is yet because I'm still figuring that out myself anyway. Over time, you can start to zoom out on the picture. But if tonight I'm making an ambient track and that's where I'm at, that's where I'm at. And
Okay.
next week, I might be trying to make a dance floor move or playing acoustic guitar and singing or playing with my band.
Yeah.
Um, it's more a matter of just leaving the diary entries, thinking more like that,
That's what it
and
is. Yeah. I've
it's more a
I've
big collage.
I've gotten, I think, a different perspective on what it means to create art recently. I'm a very conceptual person, and I guess because I've had to deliver um, conceptually driven music to big brands and their campaigns for so long, it's you almost like there is always this need to have a concept which drives the creation. It's like, what is the idea behind this? And of course, the campaign idea already suggests what the music is going to be like. And then, sometimes the actual conceptual idea behind a track becomes a part of the campaign. Like if when you do these ASMR things, or, oh, we're going to make a song out of beer bottles or whatever, right? But in this chapter of my life where I'm really trying to treat music like an expression of something deeper, which I've always I've always seen music as that very special language. Um, but I always had this compulsion to, like, if I don't have a concept, there's no point in working on the track. And it does help sometimes to have a concept to finish things, or at least to give yourself like a creative format, just as a fun exercise, a creative exercise. Like, I'm gonna make a track out of my cheapest synths. And that's just to close down the world, the sandbox, so that
Mhm.
you don't get lost in all the possibilities. But the perspective that I recently got out of after reading a few books and just having this realization is that the things that we consider masterpieces, the things that truly, truly are a higher level of art, however you define that, are ones where even the artist was swept up in something trying to communicate itself through that person at the time. So I've always found it very strange when an artist cannot explain their work. And it's always a relief when they go, well, this symbolizes the existential angst of man. You see the color here, you see this shape here, and then you're like, oh, okay. But I've noticed, like, the artists that I admire were never wanting to answer those questions. It was more like turned around, like, what does it mean to you? You know?
Mhm.
And so I want to experiment now with allowing myself not to have direction. And it's never going to be like, because I don't have direction, then what I'm going to produce is meaningless. And the reason for that is because we have a certain story, we have soul, we have certain sensibilities. There's a certain frequency, there's a certain thing happening with us at all times. And then when you put yourself in this space and you touch a knob, at this particular moment in time, you want to twist the knob left because you feel what's happening. And you're like, yes, this is where I want to go right now. I want to go left. I want to go like filtered or whatever. I want to go. murky. I want to go cloudy right now. And that's very interesting, right? Because it's like, regardless of what your mind thinks or what it intends to do, you're going murky.
Mhm.
And I just find it very interesting to allow, if the murkiness wants to come out, let it come out. Like, just, the moment the mind starts interfering, I find is when you start really limiting the possibilities. And of course, your mind is going to convince you that, right? It's like, I'm necessary, man. You want what are you trying to do here, right? Um, I'm trying to help you here. I'm trying to package this thing. I'm trying to like delineate it. I'm trying. Yeah, but then it's like, some of the greatest pieces of art would never come out if that was the case, because they weren't easily packaged. It's like a 3-hour track that doesn't go anywhere. Okay, or contact microphones attached to the bells in the what's that church in Paris, the Notre Dame.
Notre Dame?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the artists attached contact mics to the bells, and they picked
Cool.
up the resonances coming from the city that are vibrating
Mm.
these bells at
Just
imperceptible
right.
levels.
Cool.
But when you right, so it's things like that. It's like, it's like, wow, that is interesting. Anyway, I just went on this long monologue, but maybe you can hit the ball back from your end of the
Yeah.
court and
Alright.
comment on what you're hearing here.
I enjoy making stuff that is very concrete and direct, and when I have an idea that's clear and putting that together. This is the expression of something specific, and if you ask me, "Yes, this means that, and that's a reference to this," and blah, blah, blah. It's also kind of fun to play with things, stick things together, put words together,
Yeah.
play with the sounds of the words and the kind of double meanings they might have, or mess up the grammar of it even, because it fits rhythmically better than maybe the proper way to say something.
You'd have an
I think,
appreciation for that as a literature teacher,
yeah, it's kind of fun to
like Finnegan's Wake and
well, even Shakespeare did it a lot, so
yeah, yeah.
and, and some of the things he did it with became things we say now, still, hundreds of years later.
Mm.
Um, Sometimes you have to twist things around to make it fit in with everything else, but I think it's okay to not really have the complete picture of what it means and let the interpretation happen on the other end. Because it's not just for the listener either. Because when you hear my song that might have been a little loose around the edges as far as the picture of the story or the meaning, um, I can hear that song a year later and get something different than I did when I made it. And then
Exactly.
it keeps changing and evolving, and you get these different ways of looking at stuff that can be kind of fun too. And maybe that plays into this idea of the just making that body of work, dropping things on the ground. I mean, you haven't always made sense of everything in your life, you know, and sometimes you're conflicted and sometimes you're unsure. So I think it's okay to have that happen in what you're doing with your music or your art,
Well,
because that's a reflection.
we've heard it time and time again that I've only made sense of my life looking backwards. Like Steve Jobs
Mm,
said that. Um, George MacDonald, who was the mentor of C.S. Lewis in his journals, wrote something like that, which is like, it's nearly impossible to know what the meaning of your life is looking forward. But when you look back, you notice the narrative. You see the narrative.
mhm.
Um, so
You have
that's
to
what's
leave things behind to do that, though. If you're holding it in all the time and you're resisting because it's not ready, or it's not exactly what I wanted to say, or it's not exactly how I felt, then you don't get that perspective
yeah,
because you didn't leave any of those diary entries or artifacts behind.
yeah, yeah. This is very interesting to me. I just discovered this guy. I don't know how you pronounce his name. Um, is he Nigerian? He released. He was very prolific recently. He does a lot of like um, found sounds recorded wherever he is in Africa. I can't remember where he is in Africa. I think he's also a relative or a son of a famous musician. But I really, literally discovered him like in the last 2 days. I've just been listening to his work. But I went onto his website. His name is he goes by KMRU, Kamaru or something like that.
Yeah, I think Ableton just did a piece on him
Yes, I
recently.
did read actually that on the Ableton website. I read an interview with
AMRU,
him.
yeah,
Yeah,
on the art of sharing music.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, put
It's
that in the show
interesting
notes.
because I went onto his website and I was like, this is the way you do it. His website is just literally a collection of everything he's doing, the writings, the albums, like whatever he does, he just releases it. And he's like, when I got signed to labels, I encountered the challenge of like, why aren't we releasing that yet? Oh, because the calendar says we're going to do it in 2 months. There's a whole process here. Relax. And he's like,
Mm.
what? Let's just get it out there. He's like, when I finish a piece of music, I want it immediately to go out into the world, right? And I thought that was very refreshing. And just going on his website and just seeing that everything he's doing coalesces into this body of work on his website. And also, I'm very inspired by that, by what you're doing, Ryan, because this podcast, you've been doing it for what, like 45 years now?
Yeah, pretty much.
45 years before podcast.
2017.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Um, but I remember you, and I think I mentioned this every time I'm on your show, like just seeing you, like when the internet was still slow and you were already on there, like with your sunglasses doing stuff, right? Um, but you just keep going. You just keep doing your thing, you know? And I have this tendency to like, I'm looking for the next big thing. You know what I mean? If I'm going to
Mm.
attach to an idea, it's got to be big. It's got to do da, 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 da. And then you just look at the last 5 years and you go, okay, so let me see your body of work. Like there's all these unfinished pieces that are aiming to hit a home run instead of just like just do something and then ship it and then move on to the next thing that compels you or that
Well, how
excites you.
often have you heard artists talk about their hit song, the breakout song, and they were like, "We had no idea it was gonna be that one. Oh, yeah, we thought it was the other one. We didn't no one thought this record was gonna be a hit."
It's very
Yeah.
rare.
So even when people are changing the world and making their masterpiece and their huge, genre shifting releases, most of the time they don't even know it's happening themselves.
Yeah.
So if you're waiting to attach yourself to like the next big thing, the great movement, like you probably won't even see it coming.
No,
It
that's right.
it's not gonna be great until it happens.
How do you deal with
Um,
the fact that it seems to me like music is something we got used to? Like once upon a
you
time, it was exciting. Then it got electric. Then it got like it was analog. Then it got electric. Then it got digital. Then it got interesting. Blah 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 blah. It's 2025. Um, we've had incredible advances in technology. Everyone has access to killer technology now. Like every DAW is just doing crazy stuff now. Stem separation, this that, and I'm just like, are we numb already? Like, um, I'm almost looking for the kind of music that has nothing to do with that. Like nothing to do with technology. In a weird way, I'm looking for something that will haunt me. Like something
mm,
that will maybe go against the pattern, like something that will be a genuine world that I'm invited into. Where you're like, "Whoa, this is like I can't even analyze it because it's like, you know what I mean? It hits you on a deep level where your mind is not even trying to figure it out." Um, I don't know if there's a question in there, but I suppose that would be the kind of stuff that I would aspire to make. And again, I may be sabotaging myself right out of the gate, but I'm just like, well, who cares about a 7-minute ambient track with an Omnisphere drone put through some filters? Like, who cares about that? Are we past that? Have we gotten used to that? Like, doesn't it need another ingredient, or do we need a next step here in the evolution to make it more interesting, to make it, how do you see that?
There's definitely a temptation because you got the tools, right? So let's take that 7-minute Omnisphere patch and let's add something. Let's put some effects. We got this new plugin glitching and we can play this and that and add. Sometimes it's just nice to hear a single thing on its own. And, if you have just that single Omnisphere patch, you can really listen to it and pay attention to the details. And, they just announced like Omnisphere 3 and it's
Yeah.
insane, right? And,
Yeah.
um, but every time you add an element to your mix, that Omnisphere patch gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and that initial idea becomes part of the other things together. And it it changes it,
Yeah.
and it might be losing something that you're really enjoying about that patch just because we can
Yeah.
do that stuff. Yeah, I mean, I love all the technology and I'm really excited about it. But on the other hand or the other side of that coin, lately, I'm probably the next release I put out is going to be the complete opposite of all that, just acoustic guitar and
Yep.
voice. And in fact, the songs that I've got so far, I think there's like 5 or 6, all the recordings I have are the day I was writing it. So the recording I have is really like the first time I'm hearing it too.
Okay.
It's
Interesting.
like, okay, I've been working it together. Now let me try to record it and put it all together. And
Yeah.
it's like single performance. First time I'm hearing it, first time I'm going through it too.
Yeah.
And, there's definitely little flubs here and there, but there's something about that you can't capture that again.
No, and I think
So
that's
I'm
exactly where I'm
playing with
going with
that.
this. Yeah, which is like
Yeah.
in the age of like everything being perfect, the flub is the thing where I recognize the authentic moment. Meaning, like, I can actually put myself in the room with you and I can hear that it was probably afternoon, that you probably scraped the string, and yeah, it's not ideal, but like, I don't know, man. I don't ever see how the best songs were ever like perfect, whatever that means.
Hmm.
Um, reading the book by Bresson, the famous French director who is basically commenting about all the films that he's ever made. Um, I'll give you the book title. I don't remember what it is now, but I have it at home. But he said that some of the greatest moments in his films happened because of accidents. So what he was literally saying was that he created conditions that were almost disastrous, as far as like if you were to plan a set and a shot, you wouldn't do things the way he did it. He hired like non-professional actors, for instance. He basically was creating a combustive mix that, according to like professionals, would probably lead to a disaster. And of course, many other people thought his films were weird or whatever, but somehow they remain masterpieces according to certain film critics, and they certainly are still revered by people who study that genre. But his essential theory and philosophy was like, I'm trying to invite the unknown into the process.
Mm.
And so very often when he looked at what he shot, he was like, how did that get in there? And then it becomes the thing. Completely not planned, completely not even desired, to be honest, in that shot. but it came in and it added a dimension which now as a whole, like, it takes this thing to a completely different level. That's very fascinating, right? To
I think
to
so.
allow
Yeah.
yourself to create those conditions for the flubs.
There are a lot of things in recordings I've done in the past where sounds or noises got in there that weren't supposed to be in there, but when I hear them now, they pull me into that moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, I remember that day because that was the day that happened, or I like that stuff a lot. And now we can make it like it used to be a huge feat to create these perfect masterpieces that were ironed out and every detail constructed, and that in itself was really impressive. And it still is, of course, and it's hard to do even with all the tools we have. But maybe a part of me is also just aware that this thing came out so good because somebody was really good at the software. Someone was really good at
Yeah.
the
It's
how
masking.
the program works.
Right, right.
Um, and I don't want to take away from that because I have a lot of deep respect for that too. Um, but I'm a little more just drawn to the stuff that's a little more rough around the edges.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, me
kind of
too.
always have been, I think, but yeah, like it's a moment you're capturing it,
Yeah.
instead of something that's been crafted, which again has its place. I'm not saying anything negative. I'm just a little more interested
Yeah,
in
yeah.
those things at the moment. That
Yeah,
where
and,
that only happened because we got together that day and we did it in this way and we ran out of that and this thing was broken
yeah,
and we did it anyway.
yeah. I wanted to
That's
ask you,
fun.
are you actually releasing music?
Yeah.
And how do you do that?
Without much fanfare, really. Just
But what do you
mostly
put it
just
on your
post it up.
website? Like, do you put it through distribution
Yeah,
platforms?
DistroKid,
Okay,
usually SoundCloud.
okay.
S- Anything I put on like the streaming services is maybe a little more purposeful, and then SoundCloud is
Your
that gets
experimentation kind of
more
R&D thing?
experimental. Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
and I want to be a little more active with all of that. You know, just I mean, I have my own personal diary of all the music I make and stuff, but I would like to be a little more just here it is. This is what I got. This is what I got. This is
Yeah,
what I got.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I know like probably from a marketing perspective, it's not a great idea to have everything out there put together. Um, but like you said, I'm not ever gonna make money off of this in any like
It's not about that.
reality I live in. It's not about that, and I don't need it to be. I do have
Okay,
that
yeah,
luxury.
yeah,
I have my teaching job, so that frees me up a lot.
yeah.
You know, that's
That gives you a lot of creative freedom, right? Because you're not
it.
concerned with the marketplace.
It gives me that luxury in a lot of ways.
Mm,
It changes your relationship. I don't know what's better or worse, but I guess I figure if I'm in this position, I might as well
yeah,
use it
yeah,
instead of yeah, like kind of wishing I had it another way.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Because again, that creates the body of work, and there's a lot of artists I love that I don't love everything they do.
sure.
But it's really fun to go through their catalog and explore. Oh wow, like like a Bob Dylan kind of character where they're just Neil Young. They're just always doing stuff, and you can kind of dive into any moment of where they were.
Yeah,
And I just love them. So it almost doesn't even
yeah.
matter if I love the music. I love what he does.
Well,
So
here is the interesting thing that I'm fascinated by right now, which is the idea that at a time when every art form has been digitized, turned into zeros and ones, and therefore duplicable. copyable, referenced by algorithms, whatever, but essentially automated, compounded with the fact that we have gotten used to it by having processed it already. So in a way, we're numb. Like it takes something different to excite us or to even notice it. The idea that I'm fascinated by now is like the only thing that becomes truly the highest form of art that is alive is human life, is the human.
Hmm.
Now, that has always been true. So what you just said about like, I just like what Bob Dylan's doing. So I'm always curious. I don't like everything he's done, but I'm always going to be paying attention because you sense that out of this body, mind, and soul entity that is named Bob Zimmerman, Dylan, there's going to be a synthesis that when it's released, you're not always going to like it, but you're certainly going to pay attention because you appreciate the fact that this human is processing things in a very special way, seeing reality in a very special way, and then spitting it back out after synthesis in a way that only he can. So, like um, Nadia Boulanger, who was the mentor to Quincy Jones, Aaron Copland, all these other people, she always reiterated this, which is like, I'm looking for the human being in the musician. Everything else is secondary. Your piano skill, your this, that, it all comes out from the center, from the kind of human being that you are. So this is the idea that I'm hugely fascinated by, which is like, especially when we speak about AI, when we speak about the influence of technology on us, does it actually create the conditions for you to find out who are you with deep introspection? What is my place in time and space and at this particular time in history, location? What am I surrounded by? The people, the projects, the opportunities? What do I feel strongly about? What is my sensibility? And then to ask certain questions worth asking. And then the quality of your answers is really going to be as interesting as the kind of person that you are. Like, so that's my fascination right now. The life itself as an art form. Like, what kind of life are you living? And I'm not talking about like the Instagram life. I'm talking about maybe it's the most boring, simple life you've ever heard of. And I guarantee you that Bob Dylan is probably living that life. Like, even though it's exciting on the outside, like a lot of these poets and artists that I resonate with personally, it's the most boring lives they're living. And you realize that that actually is where they draw their inspiration from because they cut off the influences, the noise, everything that we're fascinated by, which is like right here, which is probably going to glue our attention immediately. It takes us away from, that thing waiting to get out of us, which unfortunately doesn't yell. Well, fortunately, it doesn't yell, right? So it really needs seclusion. It really needs some alone time. It really needs simplification. And yeah, that's what I'm excited about right now as an idea. After devoting so much of my life to like commercial appeal, to like, is it going to make money? To like, you know, um, is it going to be up to par to the person paying me thousands for this score, for this big brand campaign? I'm now really, really interested in a different idea, which is like, what does art mean today? You know, what is our place in it? How do we reconcile and negotiate the technological advances to help us become more human and more of artists and not less? Yeah, those are the questions that I find very fascinating right now.
Probably where the art in art comes from, that humanity. because you can, there's craft to art. There's that whole aspect of getting good at your instrument, or learning actually how to paint or dance or any of those things. But it's the life in there that gets mixed in that's interesting. And you've probably seen now these there's AI artists out there and making songs. Rick Beato had a big moment a few months ago where he created that one like indie female singer, and
Yeah,
their song, people are like, yeah, it's a good song. Um, maybe even the type of music I would listen to.
sure.
But as soon as I hear that it's not a real person and it's just this thing that's put together, it just removes all interest for me.
Yeah, yeah.
There's the most interesting part about that piece of music is the story of Rick Beato creating it,
Right.
the
You're still
human
gonna
being
follow Rick
showing up,
Beato.
prompting it.
Right.
Yeah. Um,
There's nothing to
and
follow. There's no one to follow, with an AI artist, literally. There's no one
if
to
it's,
follow.
yeah, if it's music that's on at the mall when I'm walking around, it might be pleasant enough. Um, I might even say, "Oh, it's a cool sound," or something. But I guess if either you get that smell that you mentioned, which I think is a good way to describe how we
Yeah,
detect AI work, it's like a smell. It's intangible.
yeah,
Uh, It just I don't care anymore for some reason. Um, like when I was a teenager, I put on flannels and ripped jeans because I loved grunge. I loved Nirvana. I loved those bands.
yeah.
Um, And there's no ripped jeans in the song. He's not singing like, "Put on your flannels," "Wear your ripped jeans." It's the people when you get to find out who made this and where they came from, and you're like, "Oh, they're cool. I like what they're doing," and
Yeah.
that pulls you even deeper into the art, and like you said, the whole life becomes the canvas in a way.
That's
It's what
I
makes it
literally,
interesting.
like, that's my thing now, which I say, like, the highest form of art is life. You are the artist in residence, and this day is your canvas. Like, that's
Mm,
literally the 3 lines behind, the kind of mentorship that I'm doing now, which is beyond making music for brands, but that's the idea that excites me because ultimately, in the age where everything is commoditized and digitized, true life, like aliveness, is gonna be the thing that we're seeking. That's gonna energize us, and it always has been, by the way. It's just that there was a moment when you plugged in the guitar to an amplifier and someone heard it for the first time, it took a while for us to get over that.
mm,
And then when analog got turned into digital, we got all excited by that. When the iPhone came, we got all excited by that. But you can see the diminishing returns. Even with the most revolutionary technology, like let's say ChatGPT or language models, it always bursts the bubble, and then we always come back to Bob Dylan.
yeah.
Who, like, how would you rate his guitar playing or his singing? That's
I
not
would
exactly where he's making the difference, is it?
I know, and the funny thing is, like, I think it is high, but,
But he
it's
dumbs it
high
down.
because of character. Like, he's not
Exactly.
winning American Idol. He's not winning the Guitar Olympics or anything like that, you know?
Like,
But, I mean, he's a great player, though. I mean,
but,
he
well, I would even argue, dude, that these people dumb it down. Some of these artists will dumb it down in a certain way. Like, it's,
yeah.
sometimes for a noble thing, like, to simplify their art, sometimes it is a market consideration. It's like nobody is gonna listen to a virtuoso thing. If you wanna write a poem for an everyday human, that's probably not the place where you display your guitar skills. I'm just saying, like,
Mm.
it doesn't seem
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
right
that
context.
could distance you from it. If you're going for that every person folk thing
Yeah.
and you're shredding, it does now you're not an everyday guy with a
Look at me.
guitar. Yeah. Um
Yeah.
I guess, like, I would consider him masterful in how he's deploying it. for his purposes. Like his
Yes.
voice, oh, like everyone, I think he's a great singer because, when you listen to like Blowing in the Wind, when he's like 20 or 21 years old, he sounds like he's been around the world,
Yeah. It's a
and
wisdom, like a sage kind of
yeah, there's a rasp in his voice that says, I've seen some
journeyman.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether he has or not, um,
Yeah. What I meant
it's
about
in there.
the like how would you rate his singing? I just meant like from a technical proficiency perspective, you know,
I
there's
hate
probably
kind of even thinking about that because
exactly.
that's kind of not the point to
It's
me,
exactly
right?
not
And
the point.
and that
Yeah.
fits me, serves me well because I'm not technically good at any of it anyway. So I can, yeah, of course it doesn't matter. Um, there's so much craft and attention to detail that you can go in, and that's a whole, maybe that's an art too, but it's kind of not the point. If you bring singing and music back to its roots of bringing people together in communities, the tribe or whatever it is in the old caveman times,
Yeah.
it wasn't about like how good you were.
No.
It was being part of that and sharing in it. And
But also like to speak to how do you get to that point um of just embodying, you know, um the kind of artistic expression that makes you just go, whoa, this is one of a kind. I can't even think about it because it goes right to the heart. Like it's not a rational thing where you're
yeah,
analyzing it.
you
Like,
can't even think about it.
no,
That's actually it. You can't think
you
about it.
can't. So it's outside. So it's like, how did the tribesmen who get their tribe into a trance? How does Bob Dylan, how does Neil Young, like whatever, we can go down the line. These one of a kind, rare artists get to that point. And I just think it's a natural result of who they are. Do you see my
Honestly,
whole point about like what we need to do if we have any shot at creating great art is to become great humans. And that's not great humans. I don't mean like um, by the standards of Instagram or because
noble
you got
or
a Nobel Peace Prize or something. No, I just mean like you study humanity, which Bob Dylan has been doing. He's a philosopher, right? Like the greatest artists are trying to figure out what the heck is life all about, right? Just dissecting what is love, what is sadness, what is grief, what is an apple even? What is a fruit tree? Nick Drake, I don't know. The fruit
hmm,
tree is probably more than a fruit tree to Nick Drake. And he shows us that when you look at a goddamn tree, it's probably more than just a tree. And then you listen and you're like, holy shit, the tree. What is this tree? What is, it's like, just takes you down this new dimension of like, oh, you can look at, an avocado this way or fruit tree that way or whatever. So it's not technical proficiency, although that's there because it's like thousands of hours, right? For Bob Dylan practicing his craft. Just being inspired by the music that he came up with and probably studying that deeply to a point where it becomes like your natural language. I'm not thinking about what I'm saying now, just
mhm.
passionate about the idea. So I'm expressing it, right? So I think it's the same for these guys, but like the huge emphasis for me is like focus on not just the technical proficiency, but like what is the thing that compels you in life? What is naturally like drawing you toward it? And like spend time with it, commune with it. And it could be the stupidest thing in the world, like a peanut. But are you telling me that we cannot create art around a peanut? Like, do you know what I'm saying, right?
The Peanuts.
The peanuts, right? But you know what I'm saying, right? It's
Charles
like
Schultz.
it's just new eyes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's Proust or Prue or however you pronounce it. But it's like the journey the journey of discovery consists not of like going somewhere, but seeing the world with new eyes. So not discovering new lands, but seeing the world with new eyes. So yeah, I mean, we're unpacking a lot of things here, but essentially, like, I'm just excited about commonplace, everyday life, and ourselves as like just common human beings, not trying to be someone in particular or like not being kidnapped by the feet to try to be like someone else there, but instead just like really paying attention to your life, to the things that arise within you as thoughts and ideas, the things that resonate with you on the outside in your immediate environment, the people you're surrounded by, the mundane moments in a grocery store, just, like looking at a cashier and just exchanging a kind word. Dude, it's all art. Like, it's all there. We just need to rediscover it again, right? Um, yeah, I don't know if I'm expressing my fascination clearly. What I'm trying to say is like all this technological stuff, as exciting as it is, and as much as I appreciate it in my life because it allows me to do a lot, I don't think that's where the answer ultimately lies. Or like that's not what's going to help us unlock our humanity. There's a greater risk that it will actually prevent us from discovering who we are because that's a conversation that cannot be mediated by a calculator.
Well, if you're paying close enough attention, there are no mundane moments in the supermarket. They are all kind of, yeah, everything is fascinating when you look at it closely enough. The peanut is amazing. Comes in that shell
I
to
don't
protect it.
appreciate it enough.
The avocado, like you said, the fruit tree, like
It's
this thing
all
that grows out of the ground that will feed us.
yeah,
And we have this relationship where I breathe out, carbon dioxide, right? It's carbon dioxide I breathe out, and the tree
that's
breathes
right.
it in and gives oxygen. Like,
Oxygen.
what? That's insane when you think about it.
Yeah,
But maybe in that we've really hyped up all of this, you know, extraordinary lives, flying around the world in your private jet and
yeah,
whatever,
right, right.
that we kind of forget that.
That the people on this private jet are very often on antidepressants.
Well, just maybe, but even just sitting in your yard watching the squirrels collect their peanuts
You ever
is
heard that
pretty awesome.
C.K. Lewis skit where he takes the remote away or turns off the TV while his kid is watching it? That's the TV, man. That's nowhere near as like dangerous as this thing.
There's a phone, yeah.
But like there's a skit that you can look up online where the kid just snaps. It's like a reaction, like unhuman, right? It's like turning off the TV. It's like taking the phone away from someone. It's like they turn into like it's almost like an animal reaction, like, "What are you doing?"
Mm,
And then he goes on this whole rant about like, "Do you not see the sun rising? The freaking sun is rising." It's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
no, not interesting, you know? Um, and that I see as a great tragedy where these kids are actually now seeing this thing as reality, as kind of like this is just the way things are. Like I get my life from this phone, my connections, my relationships, my information, everything. We were brought up differently. So we still remember that world. Boredom, like, is that even a thing these days? Like,
No,
no,
you don't have to be bored.
no, right, exactly. And
You
isn't
might
that
not be deeply engaged, but it's not boredom.
right? And that isn't that where the beginning of our unique contribution begins, basically.
I think it's a big part of it. You
Yeah.
get bored enough to go out and try something,
Yeah.
see what happens. When you don't have that, you're mildly pacified. You know, what's the point?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's good to be bored.
It's good to be bored. I
Uh,
think I'm
well,
ready to
to
go
leave that
to
open space to be bored. Um,
I'm ready to go
but I
be
do also
bored.
think that if you're paying attention, like you're not going to be bored.
No, that's true. But how do you get there? That's the question. Because
Mm,
it seems for some reason that many people have lost the sense to just like the wonder is there. Okay, maybe as a sensation, but very quickly, like you find kind of an escape. I just watch my kids, for instance, like they have difficulty sitting, just being bored. Right? There's always an answer. There's always a thing, and um, I'm trying at least not to be an example of like someone who defaults to picking up the phone when there is a silence or there's a gap between tasks.
mhm,
Um, yeah, because I've been sick for 2 weeks now, which means I haven't been in my usual rhythm of like doing things the normal way. I've pretty much been at home. This is the first time when I came to my studio to have this chat with you. But my frequency has completely changed because the first thing on my first day of illness, I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? I guess I need to rest. Okay. So what does that mean? Well, I guess I'll read a book. Okay. And then, like, I've been reading nonfiction books all the time. And my body literally said, no, please, not more information. That's what I felt like, literally, not
mm,
more stuff, not more information. I was like, oh, that was an interesting thing. Okay. I haven't read literature in a while. Let me pick up some literature. I read 2 books in the last 2 weeks, literature, and I was deeply moved by them. And I just feel like I understood many things that I would never understand by reading another nonfiction book, which honestly, by now, as a big nonfiction book kind of reader, they're just getting redundant. Like these ideas,
mhm,
like just but these words, the way they're structured, these sentences, these pictures being painted in these books, fiction books, literature, I'm like, whoa, there's so much life there, freshness. Like, what the hell was this word or this like sequence of words? And it does shit to you. And you're like, wow, just by exposing myself to these sentences, I'm literally like shifting my perspective much better than from like nonfiction. So I have to say the last 2 weeks have been incredible for that. Like so much more space. I'm not exposing myself to the feeds. Um, I'm not reading the news. I just really briefly glance at the news in the morning just to make sure like I know generally what's happening.
mm.
But
Not
I'm not
you don't have
turning
to
on
escape.
yeah, but I'm not turning on the
Right.
discussions, for instance, the heated debates
Mhm,
about who's evil and who's great and who's the savior and who I'm not interested. I'm not interested because honestly, the news has turned into a product in itself, um, whereby the intention is not to inform you; it's to get your attention. It's a product, man. It's a
yeah,
product. Unfortunately,
to keep you watching the
it's
news,
to
just like
keep you
pretty
watching,
much
right?
everything else.
Yeah, exactly. And so the entire political thing has turned into like basically a spectacle. And I was just like, nah, that's not how I'm gonna heal. But, after these 2 weeks when I'm coming back to myself, I'm like, "Why would I change my modus operandi now?" Like, I think I'm
Mm,
just gonna keep reading literature.
mm,
Um, I think I'm just gonna, like, limit my newsfeed time, and yeah, Just make more space, more space. It's been good. Yeah.
You almost gotta wonder if your body was calling out for that,
Yeah.
right? Like, "You know what, Tommy? We need you to slow down, so
Yeah.
now you're sick.
Yeah.
Relax,
No,
buddy."
I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised, right? I think our body, this is the interesting thing also, and I think this is a good way for us to like bring it home, which is look how easily it is for creative people who are often insecure to trust an outside source, especially like AI, which is eloquent and it very definitely and confidently will tell you, no, this is what it is. And you're like, oh, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. Wow, thank you. But that's not the way. The way is to talk to yourself. The way is to learn to tune into your own body, your own intuition, to hone it and to trust it and to say, you know what? Um, Despite the doubts, um, I think the only way for me to be happy with my creative expression is to really just go with my instincts, for better or for worse, you know, to go with the instincts, to trust myself. Yeah. Um, that's what I've learned in the past 2 weeks.
Hmm. Well, maybe something weird has happened. Our hardware hasn't changed in since human beings first walked the earth. We're the same computer, or the same iPhone 2 or whatever you want to think of us as. But all of the information has changed. We have so much access to it. So I, g- I could imagine that maybe it used to be we had a lot more time in contact with our internal selves because it wasn't just the abundance of information. So we craved the external information. And now that we've got it, it's like we can have as much as we want. So we're on that programming to keep pulling in the external information, keep getting more, read more nonfiction. I do the same thing. And I'm like, I read this book already. It's like, no, you read 10 others like it.
Yeah.
And our balance is off because we were programmed in a world where we didn't have access to this information. And now we have to sort of consciously, reprogram ourselves a little bit to also go within, pay attention to what's inside too, and turn
Yeah.
off the constant flow of information.
Yeah.
I can remember the change, especially once I got my first laptop to make music on.
Yeah.
And now I'm checking websites regularly. Now I have my RSS feed. Now I have, all these places where I get information and I do it every day. And it's emails are coming in, and that's a big part. Like, so much coming at me that I've just turned into routine
Yeah.
that I never used to have. So yeah, turning it down a little bit is important.
I
Probably
think
something
it's a
we have
good
to
step. I think it's a
do
good
on
step and a
purpose.
good experiment.
Mm.
I would advise it as an experiment and reflection. Yeah, just do it for 2 weeks, see how you feel. And if it feels more human, more natural, if it feels like you're more connected, if it feels like there's more agency or more authorship possible, that's coming from a place of peace and greater discernment. Um, that's probably a good thing. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, I had it over the summer, about 2 weeks. We were out west going to the national parks, Western United States. So like Yellowstone and Glacier National Park, really cool, spectacular places to see with almost no internet.
Yeah,
And it was refreshing. And wouldn't you know it, I really didn't miss much.
yeah,
You know, I, life went on. I don't think I was set back too far. I mean, the reality is, I think it was very helpful to just be forced to be away from it.
yeah, 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 yeah,
And it does, it makes you kind of reevaluate your relationship with it a little bit.
yeah. I think it's important to probably schedule these things, like make it a thing
Hmm.
every quarter or whatever, maybe a mini getaway. But I'm certainly going to stick to this kind of hermit like thing for as long as possible. Um,
And it's so not hermit in the scale of human
oh,
time, you know? You're still way more
we're
connected than
so connected, man.
we
So
ever were,
connected.
so
Um, but maybe that's where the answer is that if we can make considered, intentional, wise use of all the technological developments so that they become tools to us becoming better humans and unlocking what is best in us, then that is probably only possible because we take enough time to contemplate. But it's not about the removal of technology from our life, but it's that
mm,
cooperation. But it can only happen to our advantage if we approach it intentionally. And we can only do that if the ratio of our awareness to like usage and being kidnapped by, let's say, external things is more toward the contemplation side. Which
mhm,
means that, like, when you engage with technology, you can actually use whatever it can offer right now to be prolific, to create great things. Not so much time will be required, but it's very easy also to get lost in it, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's programmed to keep you in.
Yeah.
That's that's what they want. I mean, ChatGPT too. I might ask it to find me something based on what I wrote in a blog or a podcast episode. And it never just gives me the answer. It says, "Would you like me to now
Right.
turn it into a you want
Yeah.
like, hey,
Good
I'm
point.
still here. Like,
Good point.
you
Let's
don't have to
continue.
leave yet.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
continue. Right.
Let's keep this going. Let's
Yeah.
keep this
Yeah. That's
going."
a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. That's where we have to kind of put our foot down and say,
Yeah.
I'm not going to drink at this infinite well of novelty and stimulation. I need to remind
Mhm.
myself, like, what am I trying to do over here? Um, yeah, yeah, this is good.
Stop drinking from the infinite well.
Stop
Might be
drinking
the
from the
title of this
infinite well.
episode.
There you go. Well, let's experiment with that. Might want to run it through Chat GPT for some alternate titles. No, I'm just kidding.
Nah,
Go
screw
with your
that.
gut. Go with your gut, Brian.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, dude, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm gonna probably um close down the screens now and
Yep.
go watch the
Love it.
Chopin competition, which is more screens, but of a different kind. There's a Chopin competition happening in Warsaw. The finalists are um, now going to play along with the Warsaw Philharmonic. And it's been very exciting for me because the last 2 weeks I've been that literature,
Mm.
Chopin competition in the background. The whole time I'm watching these genius kids doing genius things at the piano. So I recommend it, man. A
Mm.
steady diet of
Never heard of it.
literature
That's cool.
and just timeless pieces of art performed by really capable folks.
Mm. Nice.
Good seeing you again, brother.
You too. We'll send people to making music for brands.
Yeah, they can
I'll
go to
put all the links in there.
studios.co, making music for brands. For those who want to go beyond making music for brands, they can go to tommyz.com. It's where I basically collect emails from people who want to talk about life and what is a life well lived all about.
Mm.
But yeah, that's where they can find me.
Cool. Well, it's good stuff. I can tell you firsthand, everybody.
Mm.
Well,
Thank you,
thank you
brother.
guys for listening. Thank you, Tommy.
Blessings to everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Music Production Podcast. If you want to help support the show, the best thing you can do is tell a friend, someone you think that would enjoy the show. I'd also love it if you could leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to support my work, you can go to brianfunk.com. I've got tons of Ableton Live packs, tutorials, samples. You can check out my book, The 5-Minute Music Producer, which gives you 365 short music making activities to help you get started, stay inspired, and finish more music. And there's also the Music Production Club, where you get my latest releases as soon as they're finished. It gives you access to a community of like-minded people who are making music and sharing ideas. You can share your music, find new collaborators, and participate in our live meetings where we set up some kind of musical challenge and then make music together and share our results at the end. That's the Music Production Club. It's a lot of fun, and you can find that and everything that I do at brianfunk.com. Thanks again for listening to the show, and have a great day.